Mark Hendricks, the Resource Program Manager. And so I'll just give you guys a little bit of brief overview for the Roundup. First off, how many of you guys have never been to the Roundup?
We work at and point visitors here from Hill City.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, good.
So I never been down to actually see it, so this is great.
You've never been down to see it then?
Not yet. Nope.
Wow.
Hoping, well, because we're always working.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so,
yeah, you're always busy.
So we're grateful to be here today.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I don't know how long we'll be down here though.
Well,
so,
I'm glad. Who's that?
To where the bison are. So they're like in the Red Valley area, I believe. So.
Well, good. No, welcome.
Yeah.
Glad you guys
Yep.
were able to be here. For those of you that have done it, just ask any questions, and maybe I can give you some more clarification on what's going on. First, a little herd numbers. I'm sure you guys are all interested in that information. So we have about 1,460 bison this summer running around Custer State Park. That's a mix of about 100 breeding bulls. Pregnant cows should be, that had calves this year, were about 450, which is up. So we should have about 450 calves, and then the remainder would just be yearlings from last year that are either bulls or heifers, and then some 2-year-old bulls coming on. We pick our herd bull replacements at 2.5. And so this year we have about 35 to pick from. We'll pick 10. We'll sell probably 10 or 12 as breeding bulls, and then the rest will offer, just as grade bulls. If we have too many breeding bulls, it usually, not that, people don't need 30 of them. Custer State Park's more known for females, long-term fertility with females, and longevity. Not as much as for bulls and stuff like that. So this is a map of what we do with the riders. So tomorrow we'll have about 60 riders show up that assist us with the Roundup, and we'll do an orientation. The Roundup consists of about 25 people that are just random individuals that just apply and draw. And so I think the person farthest this year is from Florida. We had some people interested out of Florida that wanted to come and ride in the Buffalo Roundup. It was on their bucket list. So they applied, and they were lucky enough to be drawn. We had about 100 applicants this year for those 25 slots. What we do is we have an application online at Custer State Park. People can go online, fill out the application, and then we'll make sure that they have riding experience, they have all the required tack for their horse, and then they can put in. And so then tomorrow they will come, we'll take them out, they'll get their horses exposed to bison, because some horses all react differently. First time bison, smell different than cattle, and so they can see them, they can see the bull whips, hear the bull whips, and all of that. So we'll get them oriented. Now, and we always tell them too that if you don't think your horse is going to react the greatest to this event, that it's always better to take the honor and bow out rather than getting out there and getting yourself injured and getting into something that you shouldn't be a part of. And so we'll see. Usually after people go out, sometimes we'll have somebody, sometimes nobody will. So, which is great if everybody's horse does well, but you got 60 other horses, you got horses with adrenaline, you got all sorts of stuff going on, and so some take it well and some don't. So when we head out, so we're sitting here at the bison corrals here now, and so usually this is the area where the bison they're in this area here. We call this the southeast corner of the park. And a lot of times the bison are either up over here or back in these different draws. And so the teams of 60 people are split into 3 teams, red, blue, and white. And the white team is usually this area here, red team is in the middle here, and then this is up on Hay Flats. It's a big steep hill when you're driving the loop road, and then up here on Hay Flats. And then our goal is to just bring the bison down here through a movie draw, out here into this open area. By this pond. Some, if they're up here on top, some will kind of come down around this way, but we just try to group all 3 groups of them together over here, and then we'll make a push on these creek crossings. We'll come across the creek. There's a saddle right here in front of the south viewing area, and so we'll bring them right into here and right into this lower trap. Once we get them into this trap here, we then have some gates that we close, and then the riders all go to this back fence, and then we just start bringing them this way. The last 2 years, the bison have come in this gate, and so a lot of years they'll come in this other one too before that previous. So it just depends once they're in this lower trap which gate they're going to come in. If they come in this one, then they're a lot closer to the north parking. If they come in this one, then they're closer to the south parking. So The south media area, for those of you that might be in that, will be over here. If you're in the north media area, it's over on that hill somewhere. Exactly, I'm not sure. So, yeah, so that's really what we do. And then the bison that you saw down in here, we call that our show herd. So to reduce stress, we're all about trying to reduce the amount of stress that we have and that we put on the bison. So we actually caught those guys a few days ago. We'll bring them up tomorrow, and then that will be the 100 to 150 that we work on Friday for people to see. And so when we bring them up and work them, you can set that down now, Coach. Thank you though for holding that. We'll bring them up. They'll be staged in this back corral area here. We take them out of this back corral. We move them into these slanted lanes, and then from the slanted lanes, we can move over this way so you guys can see better. From the slanted lanes, we'll bring them then into what we call this neck down area, and then we'll bring them in. The adults come in this side, and yearlings, and they'll keep working their way up. We work them through the main chute. We read, every animal has a different individual ID. All females are bang vaccinated, and all the males just get a metal steel ID tag. So when they come through, we have a database that has all their numbers in it. They're just little metal tags in their ears, so that way they're not real visible. And then we'll record weights on them. We'll pregnancy check the females, and then we'll also look to see if they were dry or whether they're wet, whether they had a calf this last year or not. And then any of them that are open this year, we're going to sort them off. They'll go over into these pens, and they'll be sold at the auction. Those that are pregnant will go out to the herd, so they'll actually come out this way and then go back out into this north track on Roundup Day. And then I don't think on Roundup Day we're going to sort any calves. We're going to work the majority of the herd then the week of October 7th to the 11th. And then at that point we'll start sorting off calves for the auction. We just figure there's about a week in there. There's no reason to sort, 3 to 5 off, to have to deal with 3 to 5. It kind of stresses them out. If there's a bigger group, then it's a lot easier on them. So we'll sort off all the 2.5-year-old bulls though, because they all have to pass a breeding soundness exam, and so they'll get that at the end of working once we get them all sorted out. So once the calves come up, they come over to this side, and then we call this the calf side. They'll come in, go around the tub, and then they'll stand over there until they go up. They'll be branded with the S for state. That's the registered brand for the state of South Dakota for bison, and then we'll also give them a year brand, so this year they'll get a 9. That way we can keep track of how old they are. And
at this point, are they separated from the mom for good or not?
No,
okay.
Nope. So they just come off this way, and then if we're going to sell them, then they're separated. When we're working the whole herd, then they'll get sorted off. If they're going back to the herd, they'll just go out the front gate, and then we usually hold them for a few hours, and then once we're done working them, all of them that are going to go out, we just kick those out that way, and then they go back out, pair back up with their mother.
Okay.
And she'll wean them naturally, throughout the winter time. What's actually funny is the males are the hardest to wean. Those bull calves, for some reason, they're just mama's boys or something, the heifers, they wean a lot easier, and you'll even see that when some